Hey guys, before we start the podcast, I just wanted to jump on and say that me and my brother are dropping a summer range for Better Life. Make sure to jump on the website, which is www.betterlife.com.au. Cop yourself some merch. Also, you can use the code Project10 for 10% off. So, hope you guys can jump on, cop yourself some merch. If not, enjoy this episode and please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Let's roll the intro. Hey guys, welcome back to the Betar Project. It's your host, Nick Betar. This episode, we're interviewing another crazy motherfucker. I'm really excited for it. Dive into his life. Marcus Smith, man, how's it going?
Hey Nick, how are you, mate? Thanks a lot for having me on. This is going to be fun.
So, first of all, let's jump in. What's it like living in Dubai?
Mate, it's cool, mate. It's obviously a lot different to Australia, but for me, it's quite normal because I've lived here for most of my life. And I lived actually basically almost 2 years in Australia. And like, it's difficult to compare the two. Like, you see, I guess, on the news and in the media, you see a lot of like shiny buildings and all that stuff. And there is a lot of that around. There's a lot of, really fancy places, but there's also some super cool places, mate. There's some nice nature to go and visit. We've got a lot of desert. We've got quite a bit of rock. It's not quite as varied as what you have down in Australia, but mate, it's good fun. I enjoy it.
I must have a lack of education, but from seeing on your Instagram, there's a lot of, I guess, white people that live in where you are.
Yeah, there is, mate. I mean, that's a funny thing, mate. It's basically, maybe 80% are non-UAE nationals, of which around 50-60% are probably sort of Asians, and then we have a whole bunch of English, Australian, New Zealand, South Africans, Americans, Europeans. So there's pretty nice communities here, mate. And within sort of our gym Inner Fight, we've also built a really nice community because everyone's here as an expat and everyone's away from home. So to have a community where people can come to is actually, it's super awesome, mate. So it's that also comes at a little bit of a cost because sometimes to mix with people of the local culture is quite challenging because there isn't many of them around, mate. But it's fun because you meet people from all walks of life, from all different backgrounds with all different stories. And as you know, mate, that always provides definitely some entertainment.
Yep.
So it's good.
Sure does. And you touched on community there that you've built over there. How did COVID affect that? Because did the gym close?
Yeah, the gym closed, mate. We were closed for about, my gym was closed for about 3 or 4 months. Most gyms were closed for just over 2 months. And basically, because we were moving gym between, during COVID, that's a whole other crazy story, mate. But to be honest with you, Nick, it sort of brought people a little bit closer together because this isn't really home for anyone. We're all kind of here helping each other out. And, my parents weren't here. They don't live here. I just got my sister here. And actually, my wife, Holly, was in Australia. So, I didn't have her. So you sort of rely on friends and just cool people within the community, mate. So it brought it a lot closer, which is, that's super nice to see. And I think, one of the guys that works for us a few weeks ago said, 2020 was a year that a lot of friends became strangers and a lot of strangers became friends, which is kind of quite true. It's a lot of year for change. So yeah, man, we kind of we had a really interesting time, but I guess that's what kind of life's about, mate. It's there's ups, there's downs, there's bits in between, and you kind of got to ride it out a little bit as well.
It's just learning to adapt, isn't it?
Absolutely, bro. Yeah, that's it.
And on that, like for yourself, Marcus, you do a lot of crazy challenges and that. What have you done this year, or what's in the books?
Mate, this year's been a little bit, I guess it's been a bit pedestrian as far as what I'd call general big ticket items. I guess the biggest thing we've done this year is we did a challenge called Into the Daylight, which is we started at dawn and basically in the middle of summer, So here in the middle of summer, out in the middle of the desert, it gets pretty warm, mate. It gets like around 50 degrees.
Shit.
So it's it's pretty warm. So we started at just about, well, when the morning prayer goes, which is about 40 minutes to an hour before sunrise, and we cycled 50 kilometers. We have a big cycling track here, and there's a certain loop on it that's 50 kilometers. We cycled 50 kilometers around that, and then we ran 50 kilometers, and then we got back on the bikes and cycled 50 kilometers again. So, which the second bike ride, it was like 52 degrees. So that's probably my biggest sort of ticket item this year, as I'd say, mate. But, I think that's one of the things this year, mate, is that a lot of the events that people kind of have been planning for, getting fired up for, big long ultras and stuff, they've all kind of been pulled away from us. And what I think strong people have been able to refocus and say, yeah, I don't really need an event. I just need to reset my goals and just need to make sure I'm still getting strong. And we've done some pretty awesome training sessions this year. And, I think that this year for a lot of people, it's not been like this, mate, but for a lot of people, it's been some of the best consecutive training weeks that they have ever had in their life, because they've had minimal disruptions from holidays, from travel, from stuff like that. And that's enabled them to really stay focused on their training, mate. And a lot of the athletes that I coach, they haven't had any events, but their numbers, be it cyclists, be it runners, or even strength numbers, are just better and better than they were this time last year, because they've had such consistency in their training. So that's been really awesome to see as well, mate.
Yeah, this year's been really good. Like, gives a lot of people so much time just to reset and really focus on themselves, whether that be training or on their mindset and all that stuff. It's been a great year.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I think it has. I think that's a great way to put it, Nick. Like, it has been a great year. Like, there's been a lot of shit that hasn't gone right, but there's been a lot of stuff that has gone right for people. And, there's only really one thing that's gone wrong this year, and that's this thing called COVID and the repercussions of that and the restrictions because of that. But they've been in place since March, April, mate. And, we kind of know what they are. So if people are still like upset that they can't travel because of travel restrictions, then you're a bit of a flipping idiot, because like you've known about it. So why are you still getting pissed off about it the whole time, where it's been in place for a long time? And, you just have to plan around it. And I think a lot of people are just not flipping planning around stuff and just trying to wish. And this is a little bit because it's just an easy excuse. I can't do that because of this. Like, there's still a load of shit that you can do if you start to focus and make a plan, and don't just focus on what you can't do. But as humans, a lot of the time, mate, we kind of do focus on what we can't do, and that's just a bit retarded in my books.
Yeah, I think it comes down to perspective as well. Like,
Yeah,
just flick that
absolutely.
switch and you change it to a positive mindset. Like, all right, now I have this time, I can work on myself. Like, for myself personally, this year, I went so hard on this podcast and I've grown it, and I've gone into endurance running and run my first marathon. Like, it's been an awesome year for me focusing on myself. So it's so good.
Yeah, and that's the thing, mate. Like, I think that's one thing that people would need to look back and go, okay, how did I grow as a human in 2020? And every book you read on personal growth and all this stuff says that, like, the challenging times help us to grow. So people that say that they haven't grown in 2020, you kind of need to look at yourself and look at your mindset and your approach to things and say, well, why haven't I? What really has gone on? Because there's been challenging times, but there's so many areas that we should have. And I think genuinely people have grown, mate, but they're not digging deep enough to try and understand what they've really done to grow, and they're just focusing more on the negatives than on the good stuff. And mate, there are a lot of bad things that have happened, but there are also a shit ton of really cool things. So, a little bit of perspective and just honest self-reflection, especially as we near the end of the year, mate, is super important.
Exactly. Now, you touched on before how hot it gets over there. I was kind of curious, how do you, I guess, adjust your body to the temperatures and run those ultras? there?
Sorry, I lost you there. Yeah, sorry, mate. I lost you there. Can you go with that again?
Yeah, sorry. I was saying, how do you adjust your body to the temperatures and do
Yeah.
the kind of events and training that you do?
Mate, you need the heat exposure. And this is one of the biggest things. Like, everyone feels temperature is similar, whether it's cold exposure or hot exposure. And I just like when I'm training for something that's going to be a hot race or a hot challenge, I'll do a lot of sort of heat training. So what would that look like? For example, over this summer, before we dived into that challenge that I spoke about before, I was running out at midday, but I'd build that up quite slowly, mate. I'd start with like 30 minutes. And then if that went good this week, I'd build it up to 40 minutes, an hour and a half, and just keep getting that, because training and being good at stuff is being able to buffer stress and adapt to a different environment, a more stressful environment. So you need to train your body, and you also need to train your mind to manage that environment. Things also like practicing nutrition in hot temperatures, when it comes to drinking, when it comes to eating. Your body digests food and has a requirement for food that is completely different when it's really hot as opposed to when it's not so hot or when it's really cold. So you need to go out there and you need to train that. You'll only get so far with a strong mindset. And a lot of people will get through tough challenges in hot places with a strong mindset, but how enjoyable will it be? And how much are you risking like failing at that particular challenge if you don't go through the necessary or like some adaptation? And it's as simple as like, how much water can I actually hold down when I'm running when it's really hot? Because everyone thinks, oh, I'm going to be super thirsty, I'll just keep drinking and drinking. But your body at some point just starts to reject it. And then we see a lot of people, like, part of one of the parts of heat exhaustion is that actually you can't hold water down. So you take water in and you're just sort of vomiting it back up. So then we use different tricks and techniques to actually try and trick the mind that we're starting to quench the thirst by, just by taking a little bit of water in, swelling it around the mouth, and then getting rid of it, so that we're not actually having to put that water down. But it does quench the thirst, and psychologically, it feels like we're getting a drink. So there's a lot of different techniques that we use. And it's the same when people go for cold training and cold exposure. Like, have a client at the moment I'm training for one of these TV special forces things in Europe. And we know that she's going to have a lot of exposure to extreme cold water, and almost like Navy SEALs training. So she's going to be in and out of water, crawling along sand and stuff like that. So we just start slowly with it, with ice cold showers. And, we've been doing that for 2 or 3 months. And now she'll go once a week for about 10 to 15 minutes and sit in a river that's about 3 degrees. But we can't do that on the first day. We have to build into it slowly and create that adaptation. It's still very challenging for her, but now that she's had that adaptation, her body and her mind can cope with it a lot better. So, and that's what training is, mate. It's our ability to buffer stress, basically. And that's what we're training the whole time.
That's the amazing thing about the human body, that we can adapt so well to different environments and stresses.
Yeah, it is, mate. It is. And that's what's really encouraging for me as well. Like, working in human performance as we work, is that we almost get to, we test a lot of stuff on ourselves, and then we can test it on not test it, but we'll apply a theory to another human, a client, and then we're interested to see exactly what sort of response we get. But normally it's positive because they're tried and tested methods. But it's amazing to see like how you can get someone who can't run, for example, 5 kilometers, to be able to consistently run ultra marathons, or like the example I used before with the client in Europe, where she's now able to sit for 10 minutes in a 3 degree river. Whereas when I first asked her to have a cold shower for 30 seconds, it was like the hardest thing she'd ever done. So it's really interesting to see as humans, how we respond and how we do adapt to situations that we subject ourselves to frequently. And this is one of the biggest things, is that a lot of people want to do great things, but they're not willing to do the training, where it's sometimes can be quite uncomfortable, where they have to expose themselves to those environments.
Yeah. Now, you weren't always an ultra runner. You played high level rugby, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, mate. Yeah. I played rugby for almost 20 years. I retired when I was 30, mate. And I was playing at that time. I was playing on the World Seven Series a little bit as well. I played in the World Cup Sevens in 2009. So yeah, I guess you could say, mate, I've been adapting to different stressful environments for quite a long time.
What was it like playing rugby, especially at a World Cup? Did you verse New Zealand and Australia?
Yeah, I played New Zealand actually in the World Cup Sevens, and played Australia a few times. They're not very good, mate. Don't worry about them. New
Nah, they're
Zealand are always
shit.
a lot better. Yeah, mate. Listen, it's rugby's an interesting sport. Like one of my friends described it as a a high speed collision sport, and it's not when you look at something like running, which I think is quite natural. It's very natural. We're able to do it. We're designed to do it. Whereas rugby is quite an unnatural sport. We're literally belting 7 layers of shit out of each other for 80 minutes. So with that, mate, comes a number of different challenges of injuries and stuff like that. But mate, it was a huge part of my life from when I was very young, and I was fortunate to travel around the world. I lived down in Australia for 2 years playing rugby, and I must have been to about 10 to 15 countries around the world just to play rugby, which, it gave me quite an amazing life, mate, for which I'm obviously super grateful.
Yeah, that rugby series, seven series is awesome. I watch it on TV sometimes. They play in so many
Yeah.
countries, it's mad.
Yeah, it's cool, mate. Like we go from tournament to tournament. So I played in Hong Kong, here in Dubai. I played down in South Africa in the World Seven Series, and down in New Zealand. There's competition, like there's competition all over the world on the Seven Series, and then under that you've got a lot of competitions as well. So yeah, I may have got flown once to Trinidad and Tobago to play in a tournament over there, and yeah, it's pretty cool. And sevens is fun, mate, because it's a really fast game because there's only 7 people on the field. It lasts for 7 minutes each half as opposed to 80 minutes for the game. And you play like 2 or 3 games in a day, and the tournaments are normally spread over 2 days. So it's really good fun, mate. And it's like a carnival sort of party atmosphere going on. So it's pretty good fun.
And what team did you play for? Or country, I should say?
I played down in Australia. I actually played for a team on the Gold Coast called Gold Coast Breakers. So, which is in the Queensland Premier
Yep.
Rugby competition. And when I played on the World Seven Series, actually, I played for the team from this region, which is called the Arabian Gulf. And then in the UK, I played for 2 National Division One teams. So yeah, I played sort of all over the place, mate.
I seen that. Did you put a post up a few weeks back of the try that you scored?
Yeah,
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 that was awesome.
yeah,
What position did you play in
yeah.
normal rugby?
In normal rugby, mate, I played either in the back row, number 7, or later in my career, I played out in the backs, number 13. And, I just, mate, I had ball handling skills, but they weren't probably as flash as you'd want. So when there was someone better to play out in the backs, they put them in and stick me back in the back row just to stick my head all around people's ankles and chew people's shoelaces and stuff, mate.
Did you score many
So,
tries or
yeah.
what?
Pardon?
Did you score many tries or what?
Yeah, I did actually score a lot of tries, mate, because I was quite quick and so I was able to get from the ruck to the outside backs whilst they were getting clobbered and take some offloads and stuff. But yeah, I think my speed was I was at one stage in a couple of comps, I was actually sort of one of the top try scorers. So yeah, nothing better than a meat pie, mate. Love it.
Now, obviously, you had to be bigger to play rugby. But how much kilo difference to when you played rugby to now?
Mate, that's a real good question. So when I was playing around 96 to 98 kilos. And they always told us, like, for the back row, we needed to be 100 kilos. And so it was always this quest to be like 100 kilos. And I got there, but it was an incredible amount of muscle and a little bit, I was probably only around 12% body fat, but a little bit too much fat to be carrying around, mate. And I was like, I want to be fast. I don't need to be this heavy. So my real playing weight where I felt good was about 95, 96 kilos. And I sit now down at about 89, 90, mate. And I feel really good. Like I'm very low percentage body fat. I think I have about 7% body fat. So, I feel good with that. And I have still have quite a decent amount of muscle. I probably have about 45 kilos of muscle, whereas I used to have about 50 kilos of muscle. But as well, mate, because I'm running a lot, I don't want that extra 5 kilos. Like carrying an extra 5 kilos when you're running is flipping mayhem, mate. So, but then there comes a point as well, and this is interesting, when you go too light. So when I was doing ultra cycling and I sort of dropped down to about 85 kilos, I kind of just felt really not good. Like I just felt weak, and to be honest, mate, and I know this sounds a little bit vain, but I didn't like the person I saw in the mirror. I'd sort of look in the mirror and I'd be like, oh, who's that skinny dude? Like, because I'd been a reasonable size my whole life. And yeah, I didn't like it, mate. So I was just like, nah, around like 89, 91 kilos is kind of where I'm happiest. And I can run pretty much the best because I feel well charged, which I think is important. People, you should wake up each morning and feel good in your body. I think that's something that's super important.
Exactly. And how tall are you?
187, mate. So
Okay.
yeah, 6'2".
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it amazes me how Corey runs the distance that he does. Like he's short, but he's stocky as. I'm like, how the hell do you run these distances? It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. That's the thing, mate. Like a lot of the bigger guys that now getting into sort of ultra running, like when they first get into it, they stay big because they've been big guys for a long time. But then, to be honest, and this might happen with Corey, it might not, but after a while, they sort of start to, they drop a bit of fat, and then they start to realize that the muscle that they have just doesn't really serve them for their new chosen sport. Yeah. So they sort of just, they're happy to shelve it, mate. And it's also quite hard. Like now I follow, like I write my own program, and the program I follow is just aimed at maintaining my muscle mass. So, and I'll do a lot of sort of strength endurance stuff. Like I just finished a workout now that was like 100 bench press, 100 bent over rows, 100 toes to bar, and finished up with like 130 burpees. It's like always just go like big volume, single modality. Like I keep it really, really simple.
Is it like CrossFit style?
Yeah, like CrossFit style. Like, mate, I just worked through, for example, today I just worked through that in like 20 or 30 minutes, and I've got some lower leg work to do. I always do lower leg work and activation stuff. So not loading, because I ran 15K this morning. So I don't really want to continue to load my legs with weight, but I'll do a lot of activation stuff and rehab. But yeah, I'll do CrossFit style workouts. I'll definitely do like 1 to 2 like full CrossFit style workout if you want every single week, mate. Like normally on a Monday morning, I write a workout that's going to last about 30 minutes, and it'll be like quite a typical sort of CrossFit style workout, mate. It'll be like 3 or 4 movements, start a new round every 3 minutes, or 10 rounds for time and stuff like that. And I'll just play with stuff, mate. I'll be like, right, I want to work 2 minutes of this 3-minute window. So what exercises haven't I done for a while? What's working good with my body at the moment? I love to use a lot of kettlebells, a lot of dumbbells. I try and do pull-ups, but not too many, because when I was competing in CrossFit, I've done enough time swinging off bars, and I don't want to put my shoulders under a lot of unnecessary load. So I'll sort of keep that limited, but I'll just make up workouts. And I still program for a lot of my ultra athletes, like at least one CrossFit style workout every single week. And mate, they absolutely love it, because it's so different and it's just easy, like 10 rounds of something. We're good. Ultra runners are pretty good. Like 10 rounds, we're like, is that it? You know what I mean? It's like, it's pretty easy, and whereas like for a lot of people, like when they see 10 rounds on the board, they're like, 10 rounds. I'm like, yeah, this is going to be done in 30 minutes. Like my normal event takes 8 hours. Like it's all good.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a little bit how I train now, mate.
And I want to quickly touch on your accident in 2018.
Yeah.
I guess most people would have probably heard about it, but for the people that haven't, you want to kind of touch on that and what happened? Because you got pretty banged up.
Yeah, I got a little bit fucked up there, dude. So in 2018, mate, I was training for ultra cycling, and I was out riding my bike. My goal for 2018 was to set a world record in ultra cycling. And I was about 2 weeks out for the first race, and I was coming down a road, and this truck sort of turned into me, hit me, and I hit a brick wall. I was traveling at about 60 k's an hour, and I hit this brick wall at like 54 k's an hour, which obviously doesn't work too well. And on the impact, mate, I was actually fully conscious, and I just had this big impact on my left shoulder, and I laid on the floor, and I was like, I just tried to wriggle. I just remember from rugby, you know, they'd always say, "Oh, can you wriggle your hands and toes?" Like when I'd had a big hit, they'd be like, "Can you wriggle your hands and toes?" So I'm going through this sort of problem solving. I'm like, "Oh, can I wriggle my hands and toes?" And I actually could, mate. And I was like, "Oh, this isn't too bad." But then I was like, "Oh, I can't breathe." Like breathing, it was like I was really, really winded, and there was blood coming out of my mouth. I was like, "Fuck, this is a problem." So essentially, what had happened, mate, is on the impact, I shattered my scapula, which is the shoulder blade at the back. I cracked 7 of my ribs, and which that stuff's, I don't want to sound sort of flippant about it, but that's not really like bones isn't life-threatening. Like it's painful, but it'll go away quite, not quickly, but quite quickly. But what actually happened on the impact is my left lung kind of, it's called a lung hemothorax, where it just kind of explodes, mate.
Shit.
And you just can't use it. You can't get any oxygen in. It's bleeding. Blood's coming out through your mouth. You're bleeding internally. And you literally, mate, you can't breathe. And so I'm laid on the side of the road. I'm fully conscious. And I'm like, honestly, bro, I saw this truck driver. He got out of his car and he sort of started coming towards me. And I can only remember the outline of him because I kind of saw straight through him. And as I saw straight through him, all of the pain that I was feeling seemed to dissipate completely. I wasn't in any pain anymore. And I was basically sat on the other side of the road, which this might sound really weird to people. I don't want to freak anyone out here. But the more I think about it, the more I reflect on it, I'm like, far out. It was my soul and my body almost leaving each other. It's almost like, what's that movie, Ghost?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe I'm just making it up because of Ghost. But I've told this a number of times, and the more I tell it, the more I actually think it's true. I'm probably just convincing myself, mate. But I was sat on the other side of the road, and what happened next, I just think there's so much learning in for me and hopefully for other people as well. I thought to myself, like everyone says, did your life flash before you? It doesn't. Because I was totally chilled. It wasn't a flash. But I was like, wow, I'm having a pretty good life. I really don't want it to end. And I did start to think, I started to think about my family and my wife and my parents and all the great people in my life. And I was like, nah, I don't want to die. And with that, I sort of thought, well, what's the choice? And I've thought about this a lot and the choices that we have in life and the fact that we have fucking way too many choices. And that's what leads us to decision fatigue and not being able to commit to different things because we could choose this. And then if we don't like it, we could choose this. And if we still don't like it, we could choose the other. But I was in this state that I didn't want to die. And the only choice I had was to literally hop back into my body and start trying to breathe. And that's why the documentary that one of my friends made about my whole crash is called Fight for Every Breath. Because with that thought, click, I was back in my body. All of the pain started again. And basically, mate, I was laid there on the side of the road for 2 to 3 hours fighting for every single breath, something that is just we do so subconsciously. I mean, we've been talking for 20 minutes, half an hour now. You and I are just breathing. Yep. Everything's good, and I was there and I literally had to focus every single ounce of my energy just to breathe. And that taught me a lot of different things, bro. Like, and I mean, long story short, I spent 3 days in intensive care and then 5 days in the main ward where I could hardly move. And then I spent the next 5 months rebuilding my body, trying to get it back. I dropped down to about 84 kilos, couldn't lift my arm up at all. When I was in ICU, all I could do was turn my palm from hand down to hand up, palm down to palm up. And all these crazy things would happen, where I remember so clearly when I walked for the first time after being laid in bed in a hospital bed for 4 days. And then I finally got up and walked. And And I was walking around the ward slow as a snail, 20 meters. It took almost an hour. And I've got like the physios holding a bag of my urine because I've got a catheter in. Mate, don't ever let them put a pipe in your dick. It fucking hurts. It's good, but you know, it hurts a lot. And the other bag of blood, which is coming off my lungs, like they're draining this blood off my lungs, and my gown's open at the back. And I'm literally stripped down to nothing. You know, I was just there and I'm totally reliant on this guy and these bags. And I didn't care that my gown was open, mate. I didn't care that I was going, you know, 1 meter every 3 or 4 minutes. It was literally the very best moments of my life. And I've thought about it a lot. I'm like, fuck, we care so much about how we look and how fast we travel and what, you know, how we're doing compared to others. Wait till it all gets stripped down to the absolute basics. And then you just, mate, it's not that you don't care about your personal sort of how you present yourself, presentation, but you're like, in those moments, what's really important teaches you what's really important in life, you know? And that's why people rock up to my gym, mate, and they'll be like, oh, I forgot my shoes. I can't work out today. I'm like, bro, I don't care if you wear shoes. So long as you don't drop a freaking dumbbell or kettlebell on your toe and sue me, I don't give a fuck what you wear. You know, and literally, mate, there's been days in my gym where people have come in and like, I don't have shorts. I was like, do you want mine? And they're like, what will you wear? I was like, I'll wear your work trousers if you want, mate. You know, and I think a lot of the time we're just so worried. We've got these preconceptions about how we should look, what we should dress and all of this. And when you're in a situation like I was in, everything's stripped away, mate. And that's another big thing that I take with me. So yeah, it was a crazy time, mate, but everything happens for a reason. And people that don't believe me, go back to my Instagram on February the 13th or 14th, 2018, one day before my crash. And I posted that quote, everything happens for a reason, you know, and the next day I'm nearly dead. It's like, oh, yeah.
That's some crazy shit, especially the out of body experience. I couldn't imagine what that would be like.
Yeah, it's weird, mate, because at the start I don't know, mate. And that's why some people are listening and they're going, this guy is full of shit, you know, but why? I didn't see the guy's face. He just knocked me off my bike. I saw straight through him, mate. All pain stopped. And I had the clearest moment ever. Like, what happened? What really happened? I don't know. Maybe I've just, as I say, maybe I've just convinced myself. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it's just a thought process. But I don't know. Who can tell you?
Exactly.
You know, it's the same. A ghost real? I don't fucking know, mate.
At any stage, did you think it was over? Life was done?
No, mate. No, because I thought I wanted to live more than I wanted to die, which is hard. Like I was conscious.
Yeah.
I know I was fucked. I know that I didn't have oxygen. I know that I didn't have an ambulance. And I knew, because we're in the middle of the mountains, that I was far away. But mate, when you want to live that much, you're just willing to fight. And I wasn't fighting for me all the time. I was fighting for my family because I'd selfishly gone and ridden my bike that day. And based on my selfish pursuit, I could have left them without me. And that's what I fought for, you know? And when you love life, mate, like you don't want it to end. No. So I never thought, mate, fuck, I guess I thought at times, fuck, I could die here. Like I did. Like you can't block these thoughts out. But when one of those thoughts come, I was just like, yeah, but I'm gonna fucking live. Like I'm just gonna fight like hell. And it was fucking brutal, mate. Like I went in one ambulance, then I went in another ambulance, and like 2.5 hours, I finally got to the hospital, and no one knows what the fuck's going on because like on the outside, there's nothing wrong. You know, it's just like, yeah, this guy can't breathe. Like, because my body just was scratched a little bit. There's nothing really wrong with me. And like my mates are trying to explain to the emergency room staff that I'd just been hit by a truck and hit a wall. and I was fucked. But they were like, they would get me and try and move me because they didn't really know what was wrong. And it's just like, wow, you know, and I'm not sure, mate, they saved my life in the end. So they must have known what they were doing. But yeah, mate, I just wanted to live. I don't want to die, you know, and that was the thing. Like when I sort of had that moment, I was just like, no, I'm just gonna live, and I was like, if I don't, I'm gonna have this is the best fight I've ever had. But I just put it in my mind. I was just like, nah, this is it. I'm gonna do this, mate. And I guess I'm a little bit stubborn when it comes to shit like that. And I know now, I definitely know now what, like, I used to struggle when I was younger, when my parents would say, oh, you know, such and stuff, they gave up the will to live. Like, I would always be like, what does that mean? Like, you just go, nah, fuck it. You know, like, I just couldn't ever understand that. But when you're faced that close to death, like, it was a legitimate choice for me.
Yeah.
If I'd have looked at it like that, I could have just, like, you know, just gone, yeah, I'm fucked, and just gone, you know, and just, I didn't have to breathe. Like, mate, it would have happened super fast because it was hard enough to get oxygen in anyway. So I would have just, like, it would have been 2 breaths and I would have just been out of here. But yeah, mate, I wanted to live, and I'm pretty glad I did. I think Holly is as well.
Now, on Holly, when you were in the hospital bed, she didn't give you any sympathy.
You remember this one from
Yep.
when we chatted? Yeah, she did, mate. I think that's it's funny and she'll laugh at that, but that's a harsh thing. No, mate, you know, one of the things, bro, is that Holly's very real. She's incredibly emotional. She makes up sometimes for the emotion that I don't have. But I kind of was in ICU and I woke up, like, I was in and out of sleep because of the drugs, basically the painkillers, let's call it that. And yeah, I woke up quite frustrated, mate, as I think we do. And I sort of started playing this victim mindset. And she looked at me cold as day as I was going, like, why did it happen to me? And what if it was different? And just being a fucking, oh, man, I could use so many different words for it, but it's probably, none of them are probably politically correct, but just being a soft prick, mate.
Yeah.
And, you know, she just looked at me and she basically just goes, it happened. And I'm literally there, mate. I'm just going, how the fuck has she done that? Like, she's so, but mate, she was just like, mum comes in, ICU is fucked up, mate. And it's just curtains.
Yeah.
And what happens is, well, in the ICU that I was in, what happens is, like, people pull the curtain and they kind of just look with one eye just to sort of, you know, and it's like, fuck, what, you know, and mum's face mum was over here in Dubai at the time, and mum's face came around the corner, and, like, literally as it did, all these tears came down her face, and I was like, far out, this is tough, you know, and I'm buckled, mate, and I'm trying to stay strong, and I was like, yeah, if I don't cry, she'll stop crying and it'll all be good. And then I was like, you know, when Holly was coming, I was like, oh no, this is going to be savage. And she was amazing, mate. She was just incredible, you know, and when I needed to be told to wind my head in, she would say it. And I was just like, wow, you know, like, how tough, mate. Imagine this, like, so this bracelet that I wear here is what's called a road ID. So it has all of my contact details on it, and it has my wife's number, it has my blood type, and it has my sister's phone number on it. And it obviously has my national ID number on it as well. And when I crashed, one of my mates just had a look at it and took Holly's number because he didn't have it. So she gets this call from a number she doesn't know. And surprisingly, she actually answered it. And, you know, she's just at home tootling around. It's a weekend or something like that. It was a Saturday. And, you know, he's like, oh, my wife's coming to pick you up. Pack a bag. Marcus is in hospital. He's okay, but just pack a bag because you'll probably have to stay overnight. And she's just kind of gone, okay. And kind of put the phone down. And then, and she says it in my documentary afterwards. She's just like, it wasn't until I put the phone down when I started to think, well, if Marcus is okay, why didn't he call me? And I just thinking, far out. She's then had to get picked up. So she's waited half an hour for Jack's wife to pick her up. And then she's driven an hour and a half. And Jack's wife can't tell her what's happened to me because no one really fucking knows. And no one knows if I'm going to make it or not at this stage. And she sat an hour and a half in this car. And I'm like, that must have just been the most horrific hour and a half of your life. You know, and she's just come in and she's just said the right things at the right time in the ICU and in the hospital, and you know, and then when I got transferred to the main ward, she's bringing me food, and mate, it's insane the way that, and that's why, mate, like that's why I was fighting, and that's the way my family works. Like it's amazing, you know, and just to be with her and to you know, to pay her generosity in a way. But yeah, there are times, mate, when she was cold as hell and I've just gone, oh shit. But you know, buckle up, big guy, it's all good sort of thing. So yeah, man, it was crazy.
What an incredible woman to be so calm. I guess, did that make your connection like stronger with each other?
Yeah, it did, mate. It definitely did. And in the, like, we've been together now, oh, bro, 17 years. So we'd already been together for 15 years. And, you know, I think we've been through a lot, like not in a tough way, mate. You know, we've done life together, like 15 years already. And then the last 2 years, we're at 17 years, 18 years almost, you know, but it kind of, it makes you think about life. You know, it makes you think of life is quite fragile at times, mate. And I this sounds maybe a little bit sort of sad, but for about 6 months afterwards, we literally just look at each other and say nothing, because she nearly lost me and we nearly lost each other. And that's fucked. Like, that's really savage, mate. And I know maybe a lot of people are listening, like, have lost people. And, you know, even now when things get tough, and geez, mate, we said it's not been an easy year for anyone, but we sort of, you use those experiences and that time, and you're like, we made it there. We can make it anywhere. You know, like, I can basically like die and we can get through this shit. So the fact that, you know, the delivery guy from Amazon didn't arrive on time, it's pretty cool. Like, it's all good. Do you know what I mean, mate?
Yeah.
And this is what my crash taught me, but this is what ultra also teaches you, mate. Like, you know, and I use it, I try and use it in a very positively strategic way, if that makes sense. But, you know, that challenge I spoke to you about, over 50 degrees, mate. And then someone comes into an air-conditioned gym at like 28 and says it's 28 in here. It should be 24. And I'm like, bro, fuck off. You know, like, it's just like, and again, I don't mean to sound like an arrogant prick or harsh, and I don't often say that, but I'm just thinking shit like that. I'm like, you're complaining about this. Are you really? Like, and even, well, I was running with a client this morning and he goes, you know, buddy, we're okay. He goes, I still have you as my coach. I'm still paying you 300, 400 euros a month to write a flipping running program for me. We're okay here. COVID's been shit, but we're okay if we bring some perspective to things. So yeah, it's very interesting, mate. It's very interesting how, like, the impact of my crash, the impact of ultras change relationships or impact relationships. But, you know, and I have to say, hats off to Holly. She's still cool. She said afterwards, she's, you know, certain things, she's a little bit more cautious. She's like, oh, maybe I'd prefer if you didn't do that.
Yeah.
You know, and until that point in 15 years, she never asked me not to do something. But since then, she's kind of been a little bit more, and I have to listen, mate. It's just not fair. Like, imagine you're at home and your wife, husband, whoever it is, goes out to do something that they enjoy. And it's the same for like mountaineers, and they're probably 10 times worse than the situation that I'm in. But you're literally sat there worried if they're going to make it back.
Yeah.
That's savage to put someone through that, but she still supports me. So, you know, I love her, mate, and it's amazing.
What was it like when you hopped back on a bike for the first time?
Shit. Really shit, mate.
Yeah.
Really. It was very hard for a long time, Nick. It literally took almost 18 months, mate, to feel good. And even now, as soon as I hit 54 Ks an hour, I shit my pants. I'm scared as fuck, mate. And I'm not shy to admit it. I've said it a number of times. I used to ride down mountains at 80, 85 Ks an hour. Now, once I hit 60, mate, I'm absolutely shit scared.
Yeah.
I'm scared of cars. I'm scared of trucks. I'm very scared, mate. And it's getting easier. I don't ever have nightmares about it. I'm not freaking out. But, you know, if I'm riding in a group and I feel that someone's not safe in the group, I'll just pull off. I've crashed a couple of times since, you know, just smaller crashes. But yeah, it's tough, mate. And it took a good 18 months for me to really enjoy being out riding. So now I enjoy it. I ride now 2 or 3 times a week, mate. But, you know, descending, riding on roads, mate, I'm scared. Yeah. And I think I'll be scared for a long time, mate. And as I say, I'm not proud of that, but I'm also not shy to admit it. I don't think it's any less manly or more manly or any of that kind of shit. That doesn't bother me at all. But it's tough, mate. And I've been on rides where I've just pulled off. I can't ride with you guys. I'm scared I'm going to fall off. And I know how much it fucking hurts.
Yeah.
And I don't want that again.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't blame you, but I give you credit for actually getting back on the bike. Like most people would have said, fuck this, I'm not riding ever again.
Mate, I got back on my bike 2 weeks after I got out of hospital.
Fuck.
And I would just, on the turbo trainer, I would just sit on it. And for cycling, we wear what's called the bib shorts. For those that don't know, they come like over the top of your shoulders to keep them up, basically. It's like braces in the old school way. And what I did, mate, is I put the strap up and I literally just strapped my hand in like a sling and held on with my right hand, and I just turned my legs because I didn't want to fear the bike, mate. And having said what I said, I guess I do, but I wanted to get back on the turbo trainer and get things back moving, you know, and I never didn't go riding because I was scared. I knew that if I felt scared, I should ride. Yeah. But I also knew it would take a long time to feel comfortable again. And it did, but now it's all good, mate. I just can't go downhill as fast as the other guys, but on the flats and uphill, if I'm with guys I trust, and there's a few guys that I ride with that I trust implicitly to ride in straight lines, then life's good, bro.
Now, you have a gym in a fight. How did that all come about?
I basically, mate, in 2004, when I moved back from Australia, a guy needed some help, and I started helping people. And in 2008, I was training about 10 people, and I was like, wow, we've got a pretty cool thing going on. I'm just going to start a website. So I started a website, called it innerfight.com. Inner fight is the mental battle that goes on within your mind. I believe that what we do, yes, it's scientific, the way we move our bodies, but some days it's not really about the burpees, the squats, the deadlifts, whatever. It's about the mental game and the habits that we're bringing and our mental health and how we're dealing with issues in life. And that's why we called it Inner Fight. And in 2010, I resigned from my job at Nike because I found so much satisfaction in helping people. And the way that I say it, Nick, is I almost, when I have a client that comes in, I'm trying to set them free from the state that they're in, which can be quite bound up. A lot of people are, for want of a better phrase, are quite bound up, stressed out. They're carrying a lot of baggage. And I just want people to live their life, mate. I want, like, I'm going to get to the end of today and every day, mate, I'll have dinner with Holly, sit across the table, we'll reflect on the day. And I just want to feel that day, I fucking live my life. And I saw a lot of people that weren't, but I saw a lot of people that I could help release them, and just through this physical training. And I was like, I've got to do this. I've got to do this full time. And, you know, fast forward 10 years, mate, we employ 23 people. We have, mate, hundreds of success stories. And, you know, it's just, yeah, we promote them a lot, mate, because it's just like, fuck, if you're living in a body that you hate, if you're going to a job that you hate, if you're in a relationship that you hate, you choose to be in those situations. We can help you get out of them. And people are listening going, fuck, I thought you said this guy owns a gym. We do, mate.
Yeah.
That's where it starts. It starts here at the gym. And it starts by waking up early or coming to a class at a time that just gets in your grill. And, you know, today's workout was, part of it was 130 burpees. No one fucking wants to do that, mate. But everyone wants to do it because they know how much of a better human being it makes them. And, you know, that's what I'm passionate about, just helping people. Our brand slogan is show no weakness, and our brand vision is making people better at life, you know, and we don't see excuses, mate. We see reasons to achieve things, you know, we see solutions around things. And yes, life's hard. We know that. It's not easy when you have 3 children, a job, husband or wife that you fucking hate, and a cat that pisses everywhere. But, you know, you can figure it out, or you can use them all as excuses, you know, and so we're a little bit more than a gym, mate. And we've built a really strong community here in Dubai where we're just trying to help people become better human beings. And as we say in our brand vision, get better at life. And along the way, we've got super cool brand values such as simplicity. We keep everything nice and simple. You know, mental toughness is something we work on. We want things to be fun. We want people to get the best out of life. So they're the kind of things that's in our DNA. And, you know, that's what's been in my DNA since I was younger. And I've recruited a good team that we can continue to share that with, mate. So I'm very proud of the team here, and I'm very proud of the clients here as well, because I think it's a very big step when someone goes to a gym, be it for a fitness class, be it for personal training. They're essentially surrendering their body, which is the most sacred thing on earth, to that facility, to that coach for that 1 hour of the day. And I take that really incredibly seriously, mate. They're giving us their life, and they're trusting us so that when they go to the mirror tomorrow, 3 months, 6 months, when they wake up in the morning, they can literally go, fuck yes, I'm living my life. Yeah. And I think that's something, you know, that I really respect people doing. So yeah, that's a little bit about what we do from a business standpoint, mate. And it's amazing. I love it.
That's awesome. You're doing great things. I think it was Kern Ray's podcast I listened to. And there was a bit in there where you had an overweight client and you went to takeaway like 3 hours a day. And the way you looked at it, you seen it as discipline and that you could just flick the switch. Talk to me about that. How do you actually flick that switch?
Yeah, I mean, mate, this is the thing, is that we're all addicted to something. Like, you know, I speak to a lot of people that are maybe, you know, recovered drug addicts, alcoholics, or have been through a pretty bad patch for one reason or another. And we're normally feeding that addiction now with ultra or with fitness and stuff. And that's always kind of been we as humans, we easily get addicted to stuff. So this guy comes in to see me, mate, and he's 197 kilos and he's babbling on. And I was like, dude, just can you explain to me, like, honestly, bro, this was about 8 years ago, and I'd never dealt with anyone this big. And, you know, he come in and I was like, how did you get into this state? You know, I didn't know if he knew. So I was trying to unpack it. And that's kind of what I do, mate. I come from it. I've got qualification in sports psychology. So I come from it from a little bit of a psychological standpoint and textbook and stuff. I'm like, you know, how do we get to where we're at? And he started talking and yeah, like I was saying in Kerwin's podcast, like I was just sat there thinking, fucking hell, When I train for 3 hours a day, I'm smoked. Like it's tough, right? This guy has gone into Burger King and he's eaten like 3 or 4 double whoppers, and he's done it 3 times a day for literally years, mate. And I was just, when he's saying like how he eats, I'm thinking, you have an insane amount of discipline to be able to keep on doing that. Like, honestly, bro, you and I could have competition of getting fat,
Yeah.
and one of us would crack, because you've got to wake up every single morning feeling like absolute fucking shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like day after day after day. You've got to buy new clothes often because they don't fit. You don't sleep well because you're so fat. You can't get in and out of cars because you're that big. Everything is a nightmare, but you kept on doing it day after day after day. That to me is like the ultimate in resilience. And I basically just said to this guy, I started laughing. And he's like, why are you laughing? I said, because you don't believe it, but you have every single attribute that we need to make you successful. The only problem is you're using all of these positive personality traits in the wrong way right now. I need to flick that switch for you. I need to bring it round. I need to change your addiction from fast food to exercise, from feeling bad to feeling good. And once we do that, you'll start to lose the weight. You'll start to love it. You'll start to love how you start to look, how you feel every morning, the energy that you have, the new friends that you have. And lo and behold, mate, a couple of years later, he's down under 100 kilos.
Fuck.
We're simple, complex creatures. We really are, mate. And a lot of the problem right now is that people are looking, because technology advances, research advances, and everyone's looking for a really complex problem, a complex solution to a simple problem. If you're fat, it means that you're not doing something correct with your body. You might have fucked your hormones, or you might not have your food in place. Let's have a look. What have you been doing? Same question that I asked this guy. What have you actually been doing? And then we go to work to unpack it and to unravel it. But everyone thinks that an app or wearing a fucking ring is going to help them. Are you kidding me? Come on.
Now, you're human, just like everyone else. You have bad days. How the fuck do you turn it around, balance it, and I guess bounce back?
Simple, mate. And this is what I call the ultra mindset. I have shit days, Nick. Don't get me wrong. Some days I wake up, I haven't slept as much as I wanted to. I had interrupted sleep because I was thinking about my training, the business, something like that. First step, admit there's a problem. If you sit around and say, no, I feel okay, no, I feel okay, you're just trying to kid yourself. The brain is not stupid. It knows that you're not feeling okay. The second thing I do is reject the fact that that thing or that feeling is going to stop me from reaching my goal, which on that day is having a fucking awesome day. So yeah, I'm not feeling that great. Why? Understand it. Reject. I'm not going to have a shit day. The whole day can't be shit. I don't fucking have enough of them. They nearly got taken from me. You know what I mean? In the next breath, mate, I just say, relax. Just take it easy. And then finally, and this is what I did when I was crook a lot, when I had my accident, is I just said to myself a million times a day, probably not that many, but quite frequently, what can I do right now to make this better? There's always something you can do to make it better. Sadly, these days, a lot of people turn to food because they think that's going to make it better. It's a great temporary solution for a lot of people, mainly because of the food, the ingredients in the food plays with their brain and releases chemicals only for a short time that make them feel better, and then they crash again. But mate, too many people are living life in a state of denial. They're saying there isn't a problem. They're saying they like things that they don't like. They're lying to themselves. They're trying to impress people that they don't like with things that they don't even want. And that to me is really sad. We have to admit where we are. We have to spend more time in reflection. We have to spend more time openly and honestly having conversations with each other. We have to pick friends that are going to turn around and go, Nick, you've been an absolute fucking tool, mate. Sort your shit out. But I'm here to help you sort it out. Yeah. Because it's very easy to throw stones at people. Nick, you're shit, mate. Nick, you're shit. But it's very hard to say, Nick, you're really fucking shit. But that's why I'm here, because I want to make you the best human being that I can. And I'm going to do everything it takes. I'll see you tomorrow morning at 5:59. We're going to go for a walk. Are you ready?
Yeah.
You know what I mean, mate? And it's just, all of this stuff is a mindset thing. It's just a mindset thing, you know? And you don't have enough days to have shit ones. Not every day is going to be a 10 out of 10. But if you go into every day trying to score a 10 out of 10, then if you land up with a 7 or an 8, fuck, it's better than a 1.
Exactly.
You know?
Yep. Yeah.
That's how I see it, mate.
Mindset is so important, especially
Yeah.
these days. Fuck.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Exactly, mate. And there's a lot of people, you know, a lot of people are gonna turn around and a lot of people are gonna tell you that, you know, you can't do things and all of this stuff, mate. You know, it happens the whole time. And the thing, one of the best quotes or one of the quotes that I sort of like the most, mate, is from Gandhi. You know, Mahatma Gandhi said, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. It's so true, mate.
Yeah.
Like, you know, people don't want others to do well for the most part. And that's why people ignore you, and then they ridicule you, and then they fight you, but in the end you win. And I know you're involved heavily with Corey, and he's making such big changes to you and to the community, you know, around you guys, and it's just such a positive impact, mate. But that mindset is just so important, mate. And you can take yourself from down here to up here with a good mindset, and you can take yourself from up here to down here with a shit one. So you need it in order. And that takes training. The mind is a muscle. We got to train that thing every single day, mate.
Yeah. How do you train your mind?
I do things that challenge me. I do things that make me uncomfortable. I set goals that I know I'm going to be in a state of discomfort. I spend time every single day on myself. I spend time every single day in reflection. I spend time every single day with my wife.
Yeah.
I stay cool as much as I can. I employ what I said, the ultra mindset. I try not to lose my shit with people. It does happen sometimes, Nick. You said it. Marcus, you're not perfect. Yes, mate. I know I'm not. And I exercise a lot, mate. For me, running is a lot of meditation, and it makes my body feel good. If things are heavy in life, if they're heavy on your mind, but your body feels good, and you wake up every morning and, mate, it sounds vain. I'm 42 years old. I've got a six-pack. I've got 7% body fat. I look in the mirror when I get out of the shower and I go, fuck yeah, I'm killing it. You know, and a lot of people listen and go, you're a fucking dick. And I'm like, well, if that's what you think, but whatever turns you on. And I guarantee you, mate, you go down the street tomorrow, pick out 10 people. Would you like to look fucking good naked? 10 people will say yes.
Yep.
No one wants to look shit. No one wants to feel shit.
Exactly.
That's my tricks.
Yep. Fuck it. You only live once, eh? You got to do the best you can.
Right.
And I hate how people want to knock. Have you heard of the saying tall poppy syndrome?
Nah.
It's like an Australian saying, I guess. People just love to knock people that are on top all the time.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's fucked.
Exactly.
And then
or say, you know, oh, it's easy for you. It's easy for you, Nick.
Or you're lucky.
You've got a podcast. You're lucky.
Yeah.
It's no fucking luck.
No.
There's honestly, mate, in our company, I basically ban people not allowed to use the word good luck. It's not, we don't write it in any of our correspondence. It's nothing about luck.
No.
It's about life.
Exactly. Man, so I guess we'll start to wrap it up. It's been over an hour. My last two questions for you. What's your definition of success? And when your time's up on this earth, what would you like to be remembered for?
Definition of success is pretty much what we captured in the last 5 minutes, mate. Waking up every day, looking in the mirror, going, fuck yes, this is it. I'm going to do something I love doing today. I look good, I feel good, and I cannot wait to get out there. I literally, mate, not every day, and I've not got it all down pat, mate. I'm very imperfect in a number of ways, but some nights, mate, I just can't wait to go to bed because I'm so fucking excited about getting up tomorrow. And when I'm having those times, I feel like I'm the most successful person in the world. When I'm gone, mate, I genuinely want to be able to impact people, and for people that spend time with me, they left a better human being. And I think I try that in every single area of my life, mate, whether I'm having a meeting with one of my employees, whether I'm teaching a class. I always said it to my coaches when I first hired the coach. Coaches have a unique opportunity to help people. Clients are going to come here for 1 hour of their day. Your biggest tool is that client. It's our objective, and it's in our coach's toolbox, that when that client leaves, he tells the next 5 people what a great time he's just had with you in this gym. If you can get your clients to do that, you're making a real positive impact on people. And that's all I want, mate. I want that when people hang out with me, be it me and you on this show, that you finish now and you go, that was an hour of my time I spent really well. Because I'm honored that you chose to speak to me for an hour, mate. I genuinely am honored. So I want to make sure that I've given you me 100%. So when I'm not here, I want that. I would hate, and you get it, mate. You get people, don't you, that like, I hang out with John, but he's not always there. He's just always on his phone and he's doing this and that. Fuck, I'd hate that, mate. You know, I want when I'm there, and that's why Holly says you're fucking intense. I'm like, yeah, I am, because I want it to be there, you know, and I want it to be real. And so, yeah, that's what I hope people say, mate. Most of them probably just call me a fuckhead, but anyway.
You're crazy, but you're a fucking amazing dude, man.
There we go.
But Marcus, man, honestly, yeah, I've been honored that you've come on and given me your time. I know you're a busy man. You got a lot of shit going on in your life, but yeah, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it, eh?
Yeah, mate, I appreciate it, Nick. As I said, like, I appreciate you asking me on, mate. I'm glad I've given my time. Thanks. We had to push this out, and I appreciate you waiting for me, mate. And it's cool what you guys are doing down there. And yeah, when Australia lets me in, I can take Holly I won't come and see you guys first. I'll take Holly so she can see her mum, if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah.
And then I'll come and see you.
That'd be amazing, man.
That'd be cool.
And
that'd be real cool.
Quickly before you go, where can people find you on socials?
Best thing, mate, Instagram, MJD_Smith. That's where I'm at. I'll reply to every single message. I love to hear from people. Don't ask me too many questions or I'll start charging you, but it's all good.
Yeah, that's what I love about you. You're so transparent. You reply to everyone, and it's awesome. I love people like yourself.
Mate. Yeah. I said it from the start. I will reply to every single, if I'm on it. And that's the thing, mate. I'm intense. Like, if I'm on Instagram, I'm on Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm replying. You know, it might just be a double tap some days or an emoji thumbs up, but I acknowledge people and I appreciate people. So it's super cool, mate.
Awesome. Well, once again, thank you for coming on, and thank you. Really appreciate it.
Awesome, mate. You're a legend. Thanks for doing what you're doing, Nick. I appreciate it, mate.
Yeah, enjoy the rest of your day.
Cheers, bro.
See ya. Well, guys, that wraps up another episode of the Betar Project. If you enjoyed this episode, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Have a good day, guys.